Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media, all the disinformation and misinformation. We want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening. And as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Yes, welcome. Episode 60. Yay!
Woohoo!
Show. This is absolutely epic today. So excited. How are you feeling, Ken? My amazing co-host. 60 episodes.
Feeling wonderful. Really excited to be on here today. Also excited for our new intro. That thing is freaking badass. And I think we've got one of the best intros out there. My personal opinion.
Absolutely brilliant. And we have an amazing show for you today. A little bit about our guest, Kadin McElwain. Before we start here today, a little bit about Kadin. Okay, he's an autistic college student, a writer, an activist who is on a mission to spread autism awareness around the world and inspire people with his life story. Throughout his life, he was told he wouldn't amount to anything because he had autism. But time and time again, he proved the naysayers wrong. His goal in life is to spread peace, love, and positivity everywhere he goes. And for our Total Truth Show episode 60, the truth about autism, welcome aboard, Kadin.
Thanks for having me, guys. And I agree, you guys definitely have the best intro in the world of podcasts. I gotta look up that Rock World E free playlist you talked about.
I'll send you the link to that.
Brilliant. I'm glad you like it, Kadin. I know Ken put a lot of time into that, so well done. I think it is absolutely brilliant. And now, Kadin, for those who don't really understand autism, can you explain a bit about what autism is firstly?
Absolutely. It's a neurological disorder, and it varies on different spectrums. So one of the misconceptions about autism is that all people with autism are on spectrum 1, the lowest end, can't take care of themselves, can't do great things in the world, have to be put in an insane asylum. That's it at the end. But there are varying levels of autism. There are the lower end of the spectrum where you can't talk, can't walk, have to use a wheelchair, have to have someone take care of you for the rest of your life. And there's the higher end, which is where I'm at, where you just struggle with social stuff, but you have this intelligence and creativity in you and this fixation and passion towards things. Friedrich Nietzsche was on the autism spectrum. Newton, Einstein, Dan Aykroyd, Daryl Hannah, Robin Williams, Putin was on the spectrum. All these amazing people were on the autism spectrum, yet still went on to make significant contributions to science, art, technology. So my answer to that would be it varies on different spectrums.
Yeah, I get that. There are a lot of highly intelligent people who have autism, and in fact it is like a superpower. It's kind of like ADHD. Like a lot of entrepreneurs have ADHD, and that is something that people don't fully understand, and I think I mean, we like to put labels on things, right? I mean, maybe everyone has got sort of a little bit of autism and a little bit of ADHD in them, and maybe that's unrecognized or undiagnosed. And I think Forrest Gump also, for the whole Forrest Gump character, I think was autistic too. Is that correct? And Robin Williams in that movie, I think he was autistic too. So.
Robin Williams, that's a surprise to me. Like I never caught on to that with Robin Williams, and I remember one of the last epic things that I saw from him before he passed away was there's this it's still out there. There's this YouTube video of a skit he did on the invention of golf. If you have not seen it, it is something to see. It is absolutely hilarious. But watching that, you would never know that he's got autism. You would never know it.
Absolutely. And it's probably a lot more people who have autism that realize, and also ADHD, I would imagine as well. In fact, Ken and I have both been diagnosed ADHD, right? I mean, diagnosed, I had no idea. And I thought, why is it that I have trouble focusing on some things? And why is it that I get easily distracted? And whereas there's other things that I'm hyper-focused. So, it's very, and I don't take any medication. And it's an interesting thing medicating around, these they call them disorders, but however, maybe they're, hyper sensational orders, actually. It's interesting they're called disorders. So do you actually medicate, Kadin? And what do you think about medication?
I did as a teenager for some minor depression and anxiety I had, but I don't anymore. And I think there's no need for medication, especially for those on the spectrum. That just makes the disorder worse. And the emotional aspect of the disorder, if we're even calling it that, I like the way you put it, neurological order. I think that's a beautiful way to put it. It just makes that even more complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of side effects to this medication. It's kind of like antidepressant medication. The number one side effect of that is suicide, believe it or not. So I think we have to be very careful when it comes to medication. I think it's very common for doctors to just say, here, take this magic pill, and people think it will just sort them out. However, really, often it's suppressing other things, and it can bring up other issues in the body as well. And I know Ken's right into health and the truth about health. So I'm sure you would know more about that, Ken, as well. It's something that you need to do your due diligence. We're just giving our own personal experience here. This is our truth. It's not necessarily the truth, the whole alltruth, and nothing but the truth, although it's our truth, and that's nothing but the truth for us, right? So, yeah, it's very interesting to sort of pull this apart because, autism is something that they say sometimes people with autism, like they can just lose their temper really easily and sort of just suddenly fly off the handle. I've heard that said about people with autism. What's your experience with that, Kadin?
Trust me, I've had a huge temper when I was a teenager. I can't really go into the details of that. It's just because it's personal. Had a really dark time for me, but I've been going to therapy. My temper's loosened a bit. I still have it. Occasionally I'll get mad over something, but not as much anymore. Or quite frankly. And I think in a way, everyone with autism has a bit of a temper in them, but I don't think they suddenly fly off the handle. There has to be a poking of the bear, if you're familiar with that, in order for it to snap. That's how a lot of these situations with me happen. And someone kept poking the bear.
Yes, don't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear. And we all have different emotions, right? We all feel anger or sadness. We all feel it in different ways. I think sometimes what I've noticed with people who have autism is that they're very expressive, right? If they feel something, you can see exactly what they're feeling at the time. They don't hold back, right? Which I actually really admire, because a lot of people have anger that's very suppressed, which can then lead to depression, as I did. I actually suppressed my anger for many years because my dad said anger is danger, and I always thought it was really dangerous to be angry. However, I think we need to find our way to release those different emotions without impacting anyone else negatively, ideally, speak your truth without, hitting anyone or, throwing things at people. Whereas, whether you've got autism or not have autism, there's people that absolutely have a lot of anger issues out there. And I think particularly through the whole pandemic we've had over the last few years, there's a lot more anger out there and a lot more frustration with people. And now there's a lot of financial hardship. A lot of people are feeling pressure in multiple ways. So finding ways to let off steam without hurting other people, I think, is really important. So, Kadin, nowadays, when you feel a bit angry nowadays, or you feel like you sort of want to have an outburst, what are some ways that you contain that so that you're not actually, I don't know if you have actually hurt anyone in the past, but however, how do you sort of deal with your different emotions nowadays?
I try to understand the situation better. I'm a PR major, so I gotta take the situation into context in my career. I'm actually interning for a couple of people now in that field. But nowadays, I try to see the context of whatever made me angry or whatever's going on. Just last week around St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, I don't know if you have it down under.
Yes, we do.
So you know what I'm talking about. There were these two girls who I was friends with that showed up to my door without my consent, my dorm room door. Or one of them called me, said, "We're outside your door." Looking back at it, they were probably drunk. To be fair, St. Patrick's Day is a drinking holiday, and I've never been so mad in my life. I went to the door and I was like, "Please leave, please go. It's a school night. I got studying to do." And they were like, "No, we want to go in your room." And I was like, "No, thanks. I'm good. Shake. Leave." And they were like, "Well, we're not leaving until you let us in." So, and I was like, "That's fine. We're just going to be here all night." Then one of them grabbed my key card from my neck and forced themselves into the door. And I've never been that mad in my life, probably since I was a teenager. And I was telling them, "Shake, leave, or else I'm going to call security." I was actually about to, and that's what got them to leave. They cussed me out, but I asked my parents about it and told them, "Look, they showed up without my consent. One of them pulled my key card off my neck. That's called assault. So I tell on them, or so just let it go? What would you do if you were me?" And they said, "Well, maybe they were just drunk and flirting with you, and just give them the cold shoulder." But I agree with what you said, Aldwyn. When the problem with society these days is we don't know how to let off steam in a healthy way. The pandemic showed that with the mask situation. So, we're seeing it now with financial hardship, tension, the identity debate, all these debates going on, protests. Palestine's a huge one right now. We don't know how to blow off steam in society, so we decide to hurt each other.
Yes, hurt people, absolutely. And yeah, Kadin, I get it. I mean, no one should be forcing themselves on anybody. However, it does happen. People get forceful, people get aggressive towards you. And then what do? I mean, you have to make a stand somewhere. You don't have to be aggressive back. And you can be straight about it. And I think you dealt with that quite well to say, "Go away, I'm going to call security." You sounds like you dealt with that in the right way. And there's a lot of bias towards, like women get away with beating men up, but no, guys can't hit women, but no, women can hit men and abuse men and they get away with it. And I think that is just wrong. I think whatever gender you are, I think there's women that abuse men out there and there's men that abuse women. Yet a lot of the times the guys are persecuted, for abusing women because they're seen as the physically stronger, sex, I guess. And, I think it's important that we respect people no matter what their gender, no matter what their background. We need to have some more respect for other people. And that comes with having some more self-love. practicing self-love is a great way that you can then show that love and kindness to others. If you're hurting some way and you want to try to feel more powerful than someone else by putting them down, well, that's a big sign of weakness in my eyes. That is a huge sign of weakness. When you feel you need to put someone else down or control somebody else to make yourself feel better in some way, it is a massive sign of weakness. And these girls that showed up at your door, Kadin, that to me is a big sign of weakness, to sort of, you know, to want to force their way into your room. I mean, surely there's a million other things that they could have been doing at that time. And of course, things like St. Patrick's Day. Now in Australia, any excuse to have a drink. They love to have a drink in Australia, you know. So St. Patrick's Day, again, is a big piss up. However, I don't believe that's any excuse for bad behavior. People drinking a lot, losing their inhibitions and behaving badly is a serious epidemic across the world, you know, not to mention drugs and other things, you know. And I think the more you can do life without any substances, the better. It shows inner strength, it shows resilience. Yet a lot of people, they just want to mask the pain. They just feel, oh, look, you know, they'll feel better in some way if they drink or they smoke or whatever. And I'm speaking from experience here because I've done a lot of drinking. I've done drugs myself in the past. I've done a lot of smoking to sort of numb down whatever I was feeling. And the more personal development work I've done, the more I've worked on my inner self-love and self-respect, the stronger I have become as a human being and the more empowered I've become. And I often think about the Karate Kid. You know, I think about that scene at the end where there's that kick at the end. There's that sort of where you know, the Karate Kid, he comes into his power at the end of the scene, and he uses sort of like, you know, this martial arts move where he sort of almost like channels God energy or whatever you want to call it. He taps into his spirit, his source, and he does this incredibly powerful kick. As a smaller guy to the bigger guy, he actually ended up, you know, knocking the other guy out, right? And this is the thing, is how can you show up in life with more power and less force? Hence the book, you know, Power versus Force. You know, how can you tap into that inner power so that you don't need to be angry, aggressive on the outside to try to prove that you're a good enough human being? What are your thoughts around that, power versus force, Kadin and Ken as well?
Power versus force. I think you put it beautifully. I think it's not looking for things to make yourself feel powerful, and not looking for things to cope with that are unhealthy. Like, oh, woe is me. I'm just going to take a drink or take a smoke or take a sniff of this substance. There's no justifiable reason for it. And it all starts with self-love.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Now, I also do believe that there's those times where it's, you know, it's okay to let your hair down, go have fun, have a drink and everything, but to use it as an excuse to like get completely out of control, like those girls were with you, I mean, I think that's taking it a bit far. You know, it's like, you know, and I mean, I admit back in my own days, you know, when I used to drink a heck of a lot more than what I do now. Like there were times I would go out, have fun with friends, but I would often have way too much to drink, ended up coming back like totally bleh, all over the place, and they're dragging me. You know, yeah, you have fun, but then part of it's not so much fun. But I definitely resonate with the fact that it's about, you know, self-love. It's not about putting yourself out there in a way to where you are so much better than than these other people and It's about, you know, self-love. It's about respecting others. It's about allowing that space for others, whoever they are, and, you know, being respectful that way. I was going to say something else on that, but it totally just left my mind, but that's okay. It'll come back later.
It'll come back. So then the next question is, how can you practice more self-love? And in fact, I want to ask everyone who's watching live right now. I can see a whole lot of people on Instagram. Charismatic Tony. We've got Robert Mull says, hello, guys. Hey, Rob. Good to see you. We've got Pachong Nguyen. We've got Bill Markellis, Ryan Thistleton, Mario Bekesh. Hey, Mario. Good to see you there. Mario and I have interviewed each other. He's an awesome guy. And for those joining us also on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, let us know, what are your best ways to practice self-love, to build that self-love as we talk about autism. The truth about autism, being kind to others comes from being kind to yourself, right? We're all different. We're all unique in our own special ways, right? And, you know, of course, we like through the world, we like to label things and tag things. And you know, autism is something that is heavily misunderstood, right? And if we have more self-love, then we can practice that for ourselves and others. So before we get to the self-love conversation, I'll wait to see some comments from you guys on any of the platforms you're watching live or watching the replay. Let us know, what are some ways that you practice self-love? What are some other misconceptions, Kadin, around people with autism? What do people think, and what is actually the truth around autism for you?
Well, I can name one of the most notable ones right off the bat, that autism is caused by vaccination. Since that's not true. It isn't. It truly is. And I know I was diagnosed like right after I got the smallpox vaccination, but that was coincidence. And so I find those who think vaccines are wrong and we shouldn't take them, I find those people absurd, because all you're doing is endangering yourself and your child. You'll potentially, whoever you go to class with, whoever that child goes to class with, and if he gets sick and die, if the person that's teaching the child gets sick and dies, if the students get sick and die, that's on the parent. It's a whole chain reaction. And then
yes,
with the election here in the States, RFK might be picking Aaron Rodgers as his running mate, and he's a well-known anti-vax person.
And so your thoughts are against vaccines, yes?
For vaccines.
You're for vaccines, okay.
Absolutely. There's no justifiable reason to not get a vaccine. If you don't get a vaccine, I'll respect your choice. I won't stop being friends with you, but you would have lost my respect because you chose to endanger yourself and others.
Interesting. Yes, the pro-jab, anti-jab, whatever your choice is, my friends, we respect your opinion. Everyone has to do what they feel is right for them. Now, I haven't had a great relationship with any jabs of any sort, and in fact, I had a tetanus shot about 30 years ago on the left-hand side of my butt cheek, and I think they got the wrong spot, actually. I'm not quite sure if they got the wrong spot or whatever, but basically, once you get a needle and you get something injected deep into your body, it's apparently very hard to then get rid of it. And on that same side of my body, ever since, I have had bouts of sciatica that have come down that left side of my body, and I can still feel where I got that shot all those years ago in the side of my cheek. Right, I can still feel it it's kind of in the glute area, the gluteus maximus area. It's in that area where they shot me with this tetanus shot. And of course, the jab rollout through the pandemic, well, we know that some people have not reacted well at all. Some people have died immediately, in fact, straight afterwards. Some people have had side effects, and some people have had no effects, right? And this is the thing, you've got to do what you feel is right for you with the information you have. And this is where we encourage people on Total Truth Show to question everything, because I believe there are people that have had autism straight after getting the jab, that suddenly these autism type effects have come out from the jab, and maybe in other cases it might be warranted to help with some situations. I don't know, but the fact is, like, you don't really know what is inside these substances. Well, what are they actually injecting into you? And we know through COVID, we don't know that the stuff wasn't tested. It wasn't actually a vaccine as such. It was a experiment,
Mm.
right? It wasn't fully tested, and yet people were being told they had to have it so they could travel, or they could go into work, or so they could go into in Australia, people couldn't enter restaurants or go to bars without getting the jab. And so clearly there was a big uproar around that. And in fact, we had over 1 million people that went to protest in Canberra, in our capital city, around the time of all this happening. And then they got sprayed by the government by chemical weapons. This is how, freedom of speech has been eroded across the world. And I mean, just look at Julian Assange. Julian Assange has been locked up since 2010 because of WikiLeaks. And now there's a documentary called The Trust Fall that is exposing what's been happening. Now, it is absolutely disgusting that people get locked up because they speak the truth, or that they reveal great truths that maybe people don't know about. And as we always say, if there's nothing to hide, why the censorship?
Yes.
If there's nothing to hide, why the censorship? And this is where we have platforms now like BitChute, like Rumble, like Telegram, like Signal, these alternative media platforms now where there is no censorship. And I applaud every single media outlet out there who is for that, who is for freedom of speech, no matter what your opinion, because the powers that be, they want to divide and rule. That's how they control people, by having people live in fear. And so the more we practice self-love, coming back to our self-love, getting exactly how powerful we actually are, as spiritual beings having a human experience, we are incredibly powerful. And yet a lot of people have been dumbed down. They've been shut down. Even the mask, like that's shutting people up, right? And the social distancing, separating people, physically separating people, shutting people down. And, enough is enough. There is now an uprising, an awakening happening. And I congratulate all the freedom speakers and freedom seekers out there who are actually questioning what is going on. So that's very interesting that you share that, and respect for whatever your opinion. We respect you. Everyone has to decide for themselves. This is not about dividing people. This is about, you have to do what's right for you. It's your life. It's one life that we live in this form. Right. And 90% of people die with regrets. I was shocked to see that statistic. 90% of people die with regrets. And when you think about a third of the population die by the age of 65, and you think about how old are you right now, or, how young are you, however you want to look at it, a third of people die by 65 and 90% of them die with regrets. And I think a lot of that regret comes from not speaking your truth. Not from actually being shut down by actually having too much fear around speaking up. And I know, like in Thailand, you can't speak against the government in Thailand. I was told in Thailand, can't speak against the government, you'll get killed over there, right? And we know, yes, people have been killed for speaking their truth, right? People have been killed. However, how are you going to feel if you just don't say anything about something that matters to you? You know what? If there's something that upsets you or angers you and you don't speak about it, then shame on you is what I say to that. Shame on you. Because if you don't speak about it, you have no excuse and no reason to complain about it if you're not being part of the solution. And being part of the solution can be as simple as speaking up about it, sharing something on your socials. This is my opinion about this. This is how I feel about this, right? Whether you agree or not, let's hear what your opinion is. Let's hear from you.
I agree. That's the problem with my generation, the Generation Z, which I nickname the TikTok generation. All they do is whine, complain, moan on and on about how such company ought to do this, such company ought to do that. Oh, this celebrity just tweeted something. Let's cancel them. Let's ruin their lives. The question I have is, what are y'all doing to help? I'm being a freedom fighter and doing stuff like this all the time to spread my message across. If Gen Z wants to help, they need to do the same. Start planning fundraisers, hold a protest, do whatever you like, but don't sit down, whine, complain, tweet, and try to ruin other people's lives over a petty thing.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely, Kadin. Well said. And yes, the next generation. Well, I don't think the next generation even know how to write anymore, do they? Because they've been tapping away at keyboards their whole life. I don't think they actually know how to put pen to paper, do they? Half of them.
This is exactly why I still do write things down, especially if I'm being very intentional with my note taking and I want to encourage more remembering. I will physically write stuff down in my notes. And this is especially helpful with journaling and different things like that. I just find that there is just so much more of a connection when I am physically writing. And see, I don't just normally take notes. The way I take notes is
Different colors.
different colors. If I have something serious that I want to highlight in my notes, I'll use red sometimes. And then if I have a sub point under that, I'll use purple. And then I have my group of highlighters. I mean,
Yes.
Some people might call that quirky, but that's just the way I work with when I take notes. Now, do I also type notes? Yes. Do I also have times where, like I'm doing an entire outline for, I have a personal podcast that I also do. And a lot of my outlines, those I do type. And a lot of times I will narrate those. In other words, voice to text. And the reason why I do that is because if I have a thought, and it's very extensive, and this is leading to this, and this is leading to this, I find it's easier if I voice to text it, because then it flows more than if I take the time to write it down. If I take the time to write it down, oftentimes midway through, I've lost the last half of that the last point that I wanted to make. This is why. So I actually use a lot of different things, but when it comes to, I'm 48. And I still write stuff. I really don't have to write stuff. I could just use narration all the time. But I prefer to have that physical pen to paper. There just is something about it that's very authentic. That's the best way I can. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what about in your generation, Kadin? I'm probably over-exaggerating to say they can't write or don't know how to write. However, maybe for a lot of people, maybe they don't write anymore. I mean, what have you noticed with your generation?
You would be on point. Reading and writing test scores, lowest they have ever been in my generation. Not a single student in Chicago can do math at grade level anymore.
Wow.
We have 30-year-olds living in their parents' basements, not knowing what they want to do with their lives. We have the influencers. So this is what worries me the most. Influencers who are 9, 8, 7, 6 years old, being thrust into the spotlight recklessly. If you've seen the Quiet on the Set documentary, which I don't know if y'all have, you see these kids being yeeted into the spotlight, not knowing what's going on, being exposed to all this stuff, and then they get into all this adult stuff, drugs, alcohol, adultery. And I saw you shaking your head, so I assume you guys probably haven't seen it. But
no.
To put it simply, it's about Dan Snyder and how Nickelodeon exploited these kids and these teenagers on their shows.
It's interesting about that. I forget the name of the person that I recently just saw it on, but it's another Nickelodeon kid that Drake
Bell.
Drake Bell. He recently came out, and I don't remember where it was. I think it was either on Instagram. It was an Instagram reel that I happened to see because I also follow some particular audience of people there. I follow like probably about 4 or 5 different types of audiences on Instagram just for content purposes and research purposes as well. But Drake Bell, yeah, he was in an interview and he was sharing how it was when he wanted to have extra time to go over his dialogue and to make sure he's got his lines down pat or whatever it was. There was this producer guy that kept finding a way to get Drake over at his house And I believe the first time that Drake ended up with the type of experience that he did, he had fallen asleep on this guy's couch, and he woke up. He didn't describe what he saw. In fact, he said what he woke up to, he did not want to describe. Now, knowing everything I know about child trafficking and what a lot of Hollywood does to children, child sacrificing, all that other stuff that's going on behind the scenes, I can only imagine what Drake saw. And I think I remember Drake said that he talked to his parents about it, and to try to get avoidance of that. But still, this particular guy always found a way to get Drake back at his house. And I just found it interesting. And then now you're telling what's the word I'm looking for? You're elevating that and saying there's even more, which is no surprise to me. Nickelodeon, I don't think it's a child-friendly network. I think it's a pedal world behind the scenes is what I think it is.
I agree. Absolutely agree. And YouTube, in a way, is the same way. Look at Ryan's world. 9 years old when he started, 6 years old, actually, already famous, making all this money. Yeah. What's going on with him? Honestly, I saw this morning that one state is going to pass a law banning social media for those under 14. I'd say make it 18. There's no justifiable reason for it. Social media causes mental health issues, there's bullying, there's low self-esteem. There's no need for teenagers to be on social media 24/7.
That's correct.
There's a massive addiction to technology happening, and I actually noticed myself getting sucked into it as well with the social media world. And I think that since the reels have become really popular and stories and these flashing images constantly, I mean, it's really, you've got to sort of really pull yourself away sometimes from your device, to stop the addiction. It's quite crazy, and I think it's actually creating a lot of social anxiety, and it's creating a lot of issues with communication now, with people actually knowing how to talk to each other. I think there's a lot of problems now with that, because there's all these keyboard warriors out there, right? And social bullying that happens and all that kind of thing. And I think in some ways it's great that we can connect with people around the world and we can see what they're up to. But I think you really need to sort of discipline yourself to limit your time on social media. Maybe just allow, 10 minutes or an hour or whatever it is. Just say, well, this is my time. That's it. And then I turn it off, right? You don't need to be at call 24/7 on your phone. And I know that people may expect that. However, at the end of the day, it's your life. And if someone is trying to call you or email you, that's their to-do list, not your to-do list. So you need to really get your big rock stuff done first. You need to make sure you have time for looking after your health, for exercising, for, all those things is so important. And
I know,
So
I know for me, like what I've had to do, a little discipline that I've had to do, because I'm just as bad as everybody else. Like I catch myself with it all the time, like sitting there just scrolling through, and then I catch myself and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like wasting time. It's like I've got this to do and this to do, and I'm just distracted. So a lot of times when I really want to focus in, I have to literally physically take my phone and put it over across the room, so it's not a temptation for me to pick it up. Because the other thing I have noticed too is if I'm trying to do an outline or produce content or whatever it is, and I get stuck on something, instead of sitting there and working through the problem, my first reaction, if I've got my phone next to me, is just to mindlessly pick up my phone and just to start to scroll. It's just a way of coping. And so, but it literally is a way of wasting time is what it is. And I recognize that for what it is. So that's why now, like as much as possible, I try to stick my phone across the room, unless I'm using it to produce content, to put a video out there or whatever. The phone is across the room, because I do not want to be caught, wasting time on that. And now with AI coming, on the scene and everything else, I have to let my mind go in the direction of, is this AI content created for the purpose of distracting me? And take that as far and as deep as you want to take it, because I believe that there's truth to all of it.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that there's content out there that is specifically AI created to keep you distracted, so that you're not looking up at the world. You're distracted on here. The same thing that the mainstream media does to us all the time. Hey, look over here. Look over here. Don't look over at what's really happening over here. No, look over here. And,
Yeah.
it's the same thing with AI. Now, I do have a little bit of a deeper question for you, Kadin, around the topic of autism. And it is, with your knowledge and research and what you know about this subject, what are some of the major causes of autism? Because I know for me, like I mean, I'm going to be really honest and blunt. I do question vaccines. I question a lot of them. I've read a lot. I've done a lot of research on that. A lot of the vaccines that we have to take as children are full of mercury, and that's not good. That's not good for you. So why are they forcing? I mean, I can get into all that, but I really don't want to. I also know that there's ultra processed foods out there that have ingredients in them that cause autism. And a lot of this is coming to the surface nowadays. And what I more mean by coming to the surface is I more mean there's a lot more autism problems showing up. Like it's like within the last 3 to 4 years, it almost seems like there's been like a baby boom of autism. And it just makes me question, where is all this coming from? What are the causes of this? Because I don't think it's by chance. So what's your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I think a lot of autism is by chance, for sure. As I said, Newton was on the spectrum, and he existed in the 1400s, 1500s. They didn't even have the technology to screen for autism back then, and so they couldn't really tell if it was from eating such and such food. But I think in today's case, depending on the severity, I think the food we eat definitely has something to do with that. Back then, it was all natural fruits, vegetables, meats, the end. That's what you eat. And I honestly feel like back then, people lived longer. I truly do.
Yes. Yep. That's a good point. Yes.
Nowadays, it's McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, Buffalo Wild Wings, Kraft mac and cheese, all these breakfast cereals, X, Y, and Z thing. And there's something in there that, one, makes it addictive, and two,
100%. Yes.
causes autism. I've actually been trying to eat better than what I do now. And how I did back then, actually, just so I can be around longer. Like cutting off energy drinks, drinking more water. I've been trying to go vegan slowly, eating only vegetables at breakfast. I've been trying to transition into that for my free meals, because there's no need for all that nasty stuff. And I'm a guy who is a huge KFC fan.
Yes, there's so much rubbish in our food. Basically, anything in a package, there's going to be some rubbish in it, right? Just about anything in a
pretty
package.
much.
Even
not everything, but most of it, yes. And then you have the lovely marketing that they use on the front of the package. So that's like my recent hang up. This is marketing that they're using on the front of the package. Oh yeah, it's made with real fruit. Oh, it's no high fructose corn syrup. No this, no that, no this. They sell you on it. They're good at selling you on it. And they're relying that, you're going to be in the grocery store in a hurry, and you're just going to buy into that marketing as just a flash decision because you want to get out of the store. And you pick it up, you take it home. One of the things I'm passionate about is teaching people how to bypass that, turn the freaking thing over and look at whether it really is food. Because most of the time you've got a list of 25, 30 ingredients. That's not food. All that is engineered, bioengineered stuff. And it wreaks havoc on your body.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just doing a bit of research here too on a website, which is aspect.org.au, which is basically, it's an Australian website around autism. And what they say here is they say autism is a condition that affects how a person thinks, feels, interacts with others, and how they experience their environment. And it says here that 1 in 70 people, they say, are on the autism spectrum. Now, they describe it here as a different brilliant. And I think that's a great way to describe it. And I think there's a lot of myths and misunderstandings about autism in general, which is what we're pulling apart here today and looking at autism and the things that can cause autism, because a lot of places will say that autism is something that you have by birth. However, it seems to be that is not the case, that autism is something that you can get as a side effect of different things. And this is where, looking after the body is so important by making sure you get the right nutrients. And nowadays it's hard to know. I mean, even when you get vegetables now, of course, a lot of vegetables are genetically modified, and we have, chemtrails, we have all sorts of sprays and fertilizers that aren't very good at all. We a lot of us are taking toxins in without even realizing that we're taking toxins in with our food, whether it's in a packet or not in a packet. And even I think if you buy organic food, I mean, organic food's probably the best kind of food you can buy. However, how do you know really if there's been any sprays, even from the chemtrails that have landed on the fruit or the vegetables? You don't really know. It's becoming more and more of a toxic world in many ways. And I have my own veggie garden here. I'm in Southport. I have a house in Southport. I have my own vegetable fruit garden, and as much as possible, I'm looking to be sustainable. However, we do have planes going through the skies here on the Gold Coast that are spraying all sorts of rubbish through the air, and you think, well, what the hell's that all about? What's going on there?
Geoengineering, of the weather system and different things like that from the research I have done. Also, it's to poison us. It literally is. I mean, some of you might be going, well, that sounds a little far out there, but no, I don't think so. I've seen enough. I've researched enough, and I've asked enough questions. No, I don't believe it is. I know that they are trying. HARP. That's the company, HARP. They control the weather. Whether you want to believe that or not, they control the weather. This is what some of these chemtrails, they're seeding clouds and different things like that. But even in the cloud seeding, that's one thing. But the other chemicals that they have in there eventually land on us. And then we're being exposed to all this 5G and all these EMFs and everything else. And so the metals that are landing on us are affecting us. I mean, it's all interconnected. And then what happens? We end up with these illnesses. That could even be one of the causes of autism in today's day and age. And where do you go with all these ailments? Where exactly do you go? You go to the doctors. You go to the medical system. Then what happens? You often get prescribed what? Prescription medicine. If you follow the money and you start really asking those kind of questions and follow that freaking money trail, you end up at some very interesting conclusions. What are your thoughts on that, Kadin?
I agree. We can honestly spend a whole episode on.
Oh yes, and we have.
And the marketplace. Yeah, I agree. And now we're doing that with weed and preaching all these edibles and candies and brownies and THC shots, X, Y, and Z thing. We don't know what's in those. And even worse, they're trying to market those to kids with the packaging. Funny story about that, actually. Over the summer, I tried a THC out of curiosity on a kayak and then chugged a Celsius afterwards. That stuff nearly killed me. I was passed out in the middle of, what was it? Lake Lincoln. Mexican on a kayak, passed out, high as a balloon. And my mother, I was visiting her in New York. We were on a camping trip. Had to come out on her paddle board, God bless her heart, and save me. Looking back at it now, it was me, but it's the same thing with food. You don't know what's in that. There's no need to legalize weed or booze or tobacco. Therefore, the only solution to the food problem is grow your own food, raise your own livestock. At least then you know where it's coming from.
That's true. That's a good point. And I think I'm seeing a lot more of that. It's starting to happen. It's going to be a while before things really fully turn around, but I am seeing there's more of an awareness coming around that. And I think you've got a point, and it's these energy drinks, a lot of these energy drinks that are out there, I don't buy into them at all. I used to, but not anymore. It's chocked full of a bunch of sugar. Even the sugar-free ones commonly have like horrible sweeteners in it. And so I'm very careful when I buy stuff like that. And, here's the other thing. Here's a big name brand that touts themselves as like the big brand name company for sports, and especially even children's sports. So speaking of, young kids consuming this stuff. Gatorade is a perfect example of nothing but junk, nothing but sugar. If you take a Gatorade bottle and you really look on how much sugar is in the actual whole of the bottle, not the serving size, but how much is in total in that bottle, I think a lot of people would be shocked if you really put that together. And they're giving these to young children, young kids, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sugar, 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 sugar. No. Sugar, that kind of sugar, ultra processed sugar. That's one thing to have natural sugar, like stuff that comes from honey, stuff that comes from pure maple syrup. And you're using more natural sources of sugar. Monk fruit, that's actually a sugar alternative, but it's more of a natural. Stevia, it's more of a natural. These are good. These are okay. But when you're consuming these ultra processed sugars, like in Gatorade, I have read article after article after article and seen study after study after study that say over and over and over again that this type of sugar is as addictive as heroin and cocaine.
Wow.
You wonder why we have so many issues of people that are addicted to foods. They're addicted to sugar. They're addicted to this processed stuff. There's one reason why right there.
So it's noticing, for those watching or listening, notice, are you addicted to some processed food? Are you addicted to sugars? Are you addicted to chips, for example, and, vegetable oils we know are really bad for you too. You want to be checking, are there a lot of 3-digit numbers in the packaging as well? Anything with 3 digits is generally not a good thing. If there's numbers, it's actually, well, as you say, a lot of it's not food anyway, but then you've got things that have got numbers on them and you think, what the hell are all these numbers? And, MSG is another one. MSG is so common in so many foods. You've really got to check closely. And palm oil is, incredibly cruel to support anything with palm oil because, they've eradicated a lot of rainforests and a lot of orangutans have lost habitat because of palm oil plantations. I saw it in Kuala Lumpur, flying into Kuala Lumpur. It was at least an hour of flying. All this area used to be rainforest. From the plane, all I could see was palm trees. These palm oil trees, not palm trees, palm oil plantations where there used to be rainforest. Can you imagine the devastation to the wildlife that would have happened from that? Plus, the palm oil itself is actually not good for you, right, Ken? This is a vegetable oil, right?
It's a seed oil. All seed oils are horrible for you. That's why when you were talking, Kadin, about KFC used to be like your favorite thing, I was cringing inside because I'm like, do you know what kind of oil that is? It's not even supposed to be consumable. They made it consumable. I get really passionate when we get on topics like this. So apologies, Kadin. I don't want to take away from your spotlight, but I get real passionate when we start talking about these kind of things.
It's It's our
Yeah.
right. When I was younger, I would tell my parents when we brought this up, blah 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 blah. You guys are old. You guys are probably going to be gone in 10 years. I'm still young. I can live life. I worked at Hardee's around that time, and I would get a monster burger, which is this double patty, double bacon, double mayo burger, no cheese. Best thing I ever had. I once got it with 6 patties, actually. And looking back at it now, that probably had all these chemicals and antioxidants, additives, all of a sudden necessary stuff, which would explain why I would have one every single shift.
Mm. Yep.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is that we think, oh, we've got plenty of time, we're young, and oh my gosh, some of the things I did to my body when I was young, I cringe to think about that right now. However, it went as it went. And I think as we get older, we get wiser and we start to look after our bodies a lot better, because this is our vessel that's going to get us through life, right? You want to feed your body good fuel. It's like we don't put crappy fuel into our cars and expect our cars to run, yet we often put crappy food into our bodies. Now, we've got someone here on Facebook. I can't see who you are on Facebook, but please let us know. I have that lucky body. The body tells me with the feelings if I eat too much sugar, and over the years, I listen well to the body. And it's very magical how mind and body are connected. Yes, absolutely. Facebook user. It is all. Oh, it's Robert Marl. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. Listening and tuning into the body. And that's the thing is, you know when you've eaten food that energizes you, as opposed to food where you're feeling, heavy and you're feeling tired. And so for me, I know whenever I have bread or I have a lot of pasta or something like that, I feel tired. I feel like I just want to go to sleep because it's just too heavy. And same for me with meat. I don't like to eat a lot of meat, and there's different opinions on that out there, but I find if I eat, like I just can't do a big steak. For me, that's like that. I just feel like not only does it take me forever to chew it to get it down the body, but I think meat doesn't digest for like 24 hours either. It stays in your body for ages. So for me, I find it very heavy. I find meat very heavy. I find carbs very heavy. So for me, I eat more fruits and vegetables, things like that. I find energize me. And so notice for yourself, what sort of foods do you eat that energize you as opposed to make you feel tired? So Kadin, do you have nowadays, are you a bit of a healthier eater than you once were? Or?
To be honest, I do treat myself to a bad meal every now and again. Like grocery store sushi is my guilty pleasure, right? Only $10.
He loves sushi. I love it. Okay.
Yeah. Only $10 at Acme Markets, which is where I get at it. Grab a thing of Takis, a thing of wasabi. Check myself out. Only $12, $14, and eat it. Enjoy myself. Get back to reality the next day.
Well, that's not that bad. A store-bought sushi isn't really that bad. When you see all the other options that you could be buying out there, that's not that bad of an option. And I'm a big sushi lover. I only do store-bought sushi every once in a while if I am that desperate. And it's usually when I've gone to the store and I'm really hungry. And that's also the time where I will buy a bunch of extra meat that I don't need. But yes. Yeah, that's another topic for another time. Don't go to the store hungry. I'm guilty of that so many different times. But the funny thing is with me, I am a meat eater. Like my body does respond really well to meat, and so I am my animal-based protein. And so my guilty pleasure when I go to the store and I go to the store hungry and I'm just like. I'll go look and see. I'll find out what red meats are on sale. I'll be like, okay, what else can I get? Oh, that steak looks really good. I'm going to grab that. Oh, they have bone-in ribeyes. I'm going to grab that. And I've got a freezer full of it at home, but just because I'm in that moment, fortunately, I'm not the one that goes after the bag of chips anymore and different things. That used to be me. But yeah, so what I would call my guilty pleasure is this. So my guilty pleasure, most of my sugar intake comes from my sauces. I'm a sauce kind of guy. So like tonight, I'm going to have chicken and I'll be having my barbecue sauce with the chicken. I love my barbecue sauce. Do I go overboard with it? No. But that's my guilty pleasure. You know, I do have those little things in there. But as far as like, yeah, the fast food restaurants and everything, I don't remember the last time I've been. McDonald's is just a place I will never, ever, 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 ever step foot in. I haven't stepped foot in a McDonald's for like 13, 14 years, and I don't intend to. There's so much I know about them. I'm not going to get into that on this show. That is way far out there. If you want to call it conspiracy theorists, fine. But what I know about McDonald's is way on out there. We're not getting on that subject today. But I would not, if you're listening to this show and you still go to McDonald's every once in a while, I would not anymore. Just, yeah, don't get me started on that. Kadin, though, I think we got on the rabbit trail of food as we were talking about my last question, which is, what do you think are some of the major causes, maybe for more today, what are some of the major causes of autism? I mean, we've talked about the food, the ultra processed foods and different things like that. What are some other things that you're seeing in your world that can be major contributors to autism symptoms or things like that? Let's kind of broaden it a little bit.
I think definitely drugs and alcohol. Smoking and drinking while pregnant, and that's a big one. And those are the big three of this generation. You either inherit autism and are higher end, you eat something with chemicals, and you get autism unexpectedly. And drugs and alcohol are what concern me the most, because that child's going to be born on the lower end of the spectrum. And you have to care for them the rest of your life. That's why I find it absurd that people who are pregnant and decide it's appropriate to smoke and drink and do all this stuff and act a fool when they should be taking their doctor's advice. There's no need to smoke, no need to drink anyway. But now you're playing around with a baby and you, and I think Robert's saying it best in the chat. If you have a good understanding, you can live a happy, healthy life. And to take it further, if you have an amazing understanding, you and your child can live a happy, healthy life. So to answer that even more broadly, I'd say drugs and alcohol while pregnant, definitely a big one.
Yeah, I actually saw a horrifying documentary once of this lady who was pregnant who was smoking, and it actually showed the baby. They had a camera inside, and it showed the baby actually like going like that, trying to breathe inside the stomach as this woman was smoking. Like, people don't realize how this affects a baby. You know, it's absolutely horrible, let alone drinking as well, what that would do to a baby. So I think it's something pregnant ladies definitely need to be conscious of. And I know a lot of people do also stop smoking and stop drinking when they do get pregnant as well. You know, it's all related. And as you know, Robert's put some great comments in here. Thank you, Robert, for your comments. He's got here, body and mind must become best friends and support each other to keep each other happy and in good mood, condition, and energy. Yeah, it's all interconnected, right? It's actually, you know, disciplining the mind to actually eat food and to do things that are going to support you to have the best experience of life, because life is energy at the end of the day. And whatever you're doing in life, is it lifting your energy or is it bringing your energy down? Whether that be food or whether it be the people you're hanging out with, whether it be, you know, your environment, the conversations you're having with yourself. And Robert says, once you develop this bridge relationship, you're one of the lucky human beings on the earth. Well, maybe luck is something that comes with preparation. You know, luck is something, preparation, opportunity.
I wouldn't necessarily put the word luck on that. There's definitely choices and decisions that need to be made.
Yes, decisions. And he says body and mind are similar as our relationship with humans. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that, Robert. Thank you for the comments. And for others watching, what are your thoughts about what we're talking about here today? Let us know in the comments. What are some of the ahas you're getting here? Now, we know Ken loves his red meat. I'm more, vegetarian. And, what your blood type? Do you know your blood type, Ken? Are you an O blood type? You don't.
No, well, I mean, I don't really know my blood type. And I'm going to make a comment on that though. I also, because I've had a couple questions on it a few months ago through a networking group that I'm a part of, and I also did some research on the blood type diet that's out there across the board. Like all the major anchors that I look to, people that I trust, that I know are telling the truth, that aren't just spewing propaganda messages out there to please their big tech food company people that are filling their pocketbooks. Across the board, everybody I looked at was saying that the blood type diet statistics, there's not a lot of research on it. It's not really based in science, and there's not really a lot to it. And it's just diets in general. You know how I feel about diets, so I'm not going to go way too far down that because I can go off and rattle forever. But diets in general, forget it. It's the wrong way of thinking. That system is designed to keep you stuck. It's designed to keep you coming back and on a hamster wheel. Going on a diet or approaching your health or weight loss with the diet mindset, you will never lose the weight for good. Yes. Plain and simple. It will not happen. You will lose the weight, but in about 6 months to a year, it'll come back. The whole system is literally close to the definition of insanity if you think about it. If you're going to do all that work to lose the weight, why not do it in a way to where it produces more long-lasting and permanent results, so it's the last time you ever have to do it again?
Yes, diet is a very overused word because generally speaking, most people don't want to lose anything. We don't want to lose weight as such, right? So,
yes.
So you can word it in a much better way. You could say tone up. I want to tone up, or whatever it is. However,
or get rid of unwanted weight. How about that? There you go.
You're still letting go, aren't you? You're getting rid of something. You're losing something in a way. Getting rid of is still losing something.
It's true. So wordplay.
Yeah, wordplay. However, with the blood type diet as such, with that. Now, I looked into this a while ago, and I must say I'm an A+ blood type, and I actually found a lot of truth in what was in that book, interestingly, where they say, O types like red meat, they get more energy from red meat. A types are more vegetarian, etc. Well, whether you believe it or not, I don't know about the science, etc. However, I know also a few people who were practicing the blood type diet or eating according to their blood type. And they were saying that they could feel the difference as well when they followed that particular plan. However, it's somebody's idea that they've put out there. It doesn't mean it's going to be true for you. What we say is, do your research, do what you feel is right for you.
Yeah.
And Kadin, back to you again. Ken and I tend to go off on tangents quite often, so we'll come back to autism now. For those who have people in their life who have autism, what are the best ways, do you think, to sort of work with people with autism? Because some people sort of don't really know what to make of people with autism, and they might get a little bit scared in some way, or sort of like, they don't know how to really deal with someone with autism, or how to approach them, or how to speak to them, or how to relate to them. What are some tips you'll give to people around like learning to get along with people who have autism?
I'd say give them a chance. Give them a chance. It's all they want, a chance. For the person with autism themselves, learn to embrace your gift. Because autism is a gift. It really is. For the parents, be supportive of your child with autism. Always be there every step of the way. My parents were there for me through thick and thin. And my dad even chose a bed for me when I was younger, when we were in bankruptcy. See, when he got divorced from my birth mom over his own bed. And that's how much he was fair for me and wanted me to thrive. For school, do your job. Eat job. Don't cut off your services without running consent. That's going to result in some lawsuits. My own services were cut off, and lucky for the school, well, I was in. They didn't get a lawsuit, but they did get a couple of letters from some autism organizations that my dad and stepmom messaged in Tennessee. And they probably got a letter from the state senator. My parents messaged the state senator about it. Looking back at it, they probably should have sued them. They could have gotten some moolah from them. But to the schools, don't cut off the services without consent. Do your job. Look after the person with autism. Make sure they got what they need. And teach your students how to tolerate those with autism. Absolutely teach your student how to tolerate those with autism. And I think the parents of a student need to teach their child how to get along with all people, especially those on the spectrum, because everything starts at home, in my opinion. It does. It truly does. For jobs, same thing. Give those with autism a chance. Hire them on. See what they can do. Legally, you have to. That's against the law these days, but give them a chance. Show them what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Give people with autism a chance. I think that's crucial. I think everyone's individual. Everyone's got their, their positives, their negatives as far as how they come across. And, I think more understanding and more acceptance of people exactly as they are and exactly as they're not, accepting people for where they're at in their life, I think is so important. I think there's value that we can all add to each other. And I think it's important, not to sort of label people as, like they say it's a disability, even the word disability, I don't like that word disability. I say it's ability. You have the ability to do certain things. Like people with autism have, amazing math skills and things like that, right? Able to work out, like genius level sort of math skills that others don't have. So there's always pros and cons with everyone, whatever we label ourselves or others as. And I think, learning to give people a chance, I think, is so important. That's, really well said, Kadin. I agree. And it does start in the family. And I think, learning to accept people just exactly as they are and really relate and connect with people and get to understand and get to know people, I think is so important, because we all have some value we can add to other people's lives. We're all teachers and we're all students at the same time.
I agree. And most certainly don't follow the propaganda. You see, I know Kadin mentioned propaganda earlier. We could spend a whole episode on propaganda alone.
And we almost have before. Yes, we have.
We did a show called The Truth About Propaganda. We absolutely did. And in fact, Facebook didn't like it and YouTube didn't like it either. They gave it a little strike. They thought it went against their community standards, which was very interesting. And we always find it interesting when we get those messages that things go against community standards, because we think, well, there's definitely truth there. If they don't want people to see that, there's definitely some truth in that one. So you better make sure that you do that, right? That you check that. Now, Robert's saying on Instagram, money will be important, but more important will be your body's health condition and your spirit energy in you. Yes, absolutely. That's so important. And in fact, a lot of people, they spend their health to get their wealth, and then they're spending their wealth to get their health back, right? Interesting. And Angelique Pellegrino's just joined us. She's going to be our guest on the Media Mavens show tonight, Angelique. We're talking about rapid transformation secrets. So that's going to be really, really cool. Kadin, what else would you like people to know about autism? The truth about autism we're talking about today?
First, let me see what this says. We got Wesley Curry too in chat. So the Omni mark is a branded barcode. You shall take that mark and get gray scabs on your faces. Then Jesus will say, I do not know you, you're Allah. In no time to talk. Allah? is that spam?
Yes,
No
it is. I was just sending a note to Aldwyn going, I think we've got a troll.
Yeah,
I think we have a troll.
guys,
Wesley Curry too is trolling us. Thank you, Wesley. We appreciate that. Right, off you go then. Off you go back to autism.
all right, back to autism. Some pretty much what we've been saying also. So, don't believe propaganda. Give those with autism a chance, and mainly find your own truth.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Find your own truth. Absolutely. And it's interesting, in this world of social media, you're going to have your lovers and you're going to have your haters and you're going to have your trolls. And it's all about in life, how are you going to be about curveballs that life throws you? At any point,
Yeah.
unexpected things can happen, right? I had, for example, at my house, I had the solar system went down. Now the other hot water system has gone down. Now, like things happen, stuff happens, and it can happen at any moment. And it's like, okay, well, what do you do when stuff happens? What do you do when you get your haters out there? Well, there's going to be more people loving you as well because you're speaking your truth. And it's important to build up resilience and to speak your truth regardless. And I send love to those who are being nasty to others because they're obviously hurting. They're hurting people, right? So we send them love and we wish them well. It doesn't mean we need to hang out with these people or give them any attention. And just like the spammer we just had on YouTube, I've just banned them and removed them because they just sent a nasty comment, and we don't need that. We don't, if you can't be polite and be respectful, then we don't need you on our socials. Thank you very much. And you can go somewhere else and take your nastiness somewhere else. We don't need that stuff. And maybe learn to practice a bit more self-love. Okay, back to the self-love conversation.
Exactly.
So what are some tips that we have around how to build your self-love? What do you do, Kadin, to, because I'm sure you've had people that have knocked you over the years. You probably had bullying, I would imagine. Have you had that kind of stuff happen for you, and how have you dealt with it?
Absolutely. Especially in high school. Well, looking back at it now, I probably misunderstood it as bullying. And I did get myself into a lot of those situations by snitching and sticking my nose in people's grill. But let's not mind my business. But back then, I would put myself down. Alan, you're this because you have autism. It should be cured. Then the more I learned about autism, the more I learned to love myself as a person. So nowadays, for self-love, I remind myself that I'm a great person no matter what people think of me.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I love that, Kadin. You are a great person. And in fact, you are 1 in a billion just by being born. Okay. You beat 1 billion swimmers to get to the finish line. So you are 1 in a billion just by being born. That is a fact. Well, it's actually between 400 million to 1.2 billion. So it depends how excited your parents were at the time. However, let's not get into too much detail. We'll just say 1 in a billion. You're 1 in a billion just by being born. There's a reason you're here on the planet. There is no one else on the planet quite like you. And as much as we are all interconnected energetically on the quantum field, we're all interconnected in some way. However, there's no one exactly like you. And I think it's wonderful that you accept yourself and you love yourself, Kadin. And it's not a dirty word. In Australia, we have this tall poppy syndrome, right? It's all about rise to the middle, right? If anyone wants to stick their head out and stand out, they tend to get put down. And in America, it's all about, yes, we're going to encourage you to get to the top. And then once you get to the top, then we'll take you down. That's how it is in America. Yeah. It's an interesting world. So you're always going to get that in life, right? You're always going to get that. And it takes great courage. It takes resilience to speak your truth, to be true to yourself, to know that you are valued, you are loved, you do belong, right? And you don't have to be liked by everyone. We'll never be liked by everyone. And I know that, with our hindbrain, the way that human beings work, we want to be part of the crowd. We want to, because, in tribal days, if you're out of the crowd, then you're on your own and fending for yourself. And, there is safety in numbers, definitely, right? There is safety in numbers. However, there is also a whole lot of people who are banding together now who maybe are what you would have called the misfits or the crazy ones. The crazy ones are banding together. In fact, one of my greatest favorite movies of all time is The Greatest Showman. I love The Greatest Showman. It was about all these guys that were misfits that came together in this sort of circus, and they put on this great show, and they were all knocked out there in public, yet they came together and they produced absolute magic together. And people knocked them, people put them down. However, you could not dispute the magic that these people brought to the world. And for a lot of people, there was short people, really tall people, there were people that looked different in some way to, say, the majority of people. Yet very, very powerful movie with Hugh Jackman, and it was actually a musical. Very, very powerful. I've seen it 3 times. I love it. The Greatest Showman. Have you seen The Greatest Showman? Watching this, tuning in right now, let us know if you have, what you thought of it. And if you haven't, I recommend go out and watch that movie. It will definitely give you a new perspective on life and teach us all some acceptance and some kindness to each other. And if someone's being nasty to you, you do not have to tolerate it. You do not have to put up with it. You can bless and release, as we just did with this troll that came through on YouTube. We have just blessed and released him off into the universe. We wish him well. We don't need to be engaging with him with his negativity, right? There's no need for nastiness, and you can express your opinion without doing that. And same with Kadin, with the people that you've been dealing with the bullies, etc. Just get that hurt people, and more so than anything else, they're hurting themselves.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I'll add to that too is something that I've had to learn is that regardless of whether somebody likes you or not, or they might not like the way you do things or whatever, like for example, I have a very unique way of doing my cardio routine. And it's a way that's so outside the box that sometimes I get people that kind of point the fingers like, why do you have to take up so much space? And why do you have to use so much stuff? And blah, 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 blah. For the most part, the people that come across my particular routine high five me. Hey, what are you training for? All this other stuff. I get great stuff. But every once in a while, I'll get that one person. And what I've had to learn to do is learn to tell myself they're not necessary. It's not necessarily about me. What they're thinking towards me or whatever, it's not really necessarily about me. It's not. That's part of their matrix. That's part of their world, the way they have been programmed. And they are seeing things through those filters. Has nothing to do with me. That's part of their matrix. And then to learn to let that go and just kind of like let them be in their own space. If they want to think that way, if they want to be that kind of person, fine. That's your matrix. This is mine. This is the way I choose. I choose to be, freed from those kind of chains, if you will. What are your thoughts on that, Kadin?
I agree. That's a really nice way to put it.
Yeah. And it takes something. It takes some mental resilience, and I love the quote too, that resentment is like wanting someone else dead, yet you take the poison, right? It's like anytime you may want someone else dead or you putting hate towards someone else, it's actually you're taking the poison because it's eating away at you, because that person doesn't care about you. They don't really care about you, and you're putting all this negative energy into them, and you've got this resentment wanting them dead, but you're actually affecting your own body. You're affecting the energy in your body, and you're making yourself sick, whether you're conscious of it or you're not conscious of it. And this is where the more conscious we can get to our thoughts, to what's going on for us, how we're responding to different situations in life through this roller coaster ride of life. Does some drama happen or something happen? You go, oh my God, it's the end of the world, and I can't, what a shitty day, blah, 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 right? How often do we wake up whinging because something happens, or maybe the hot water got turned off, or maybe the electricity's out, or, whatever it is, or the internet's not working properly, or whatever. First world problems, right? There's how many parts of the world don't have any proper running water or don't have shelter, or, how many people are out there are like that? And yet it's often the people in the first world countries that do the most whinging, right? There's often people in these third world countries that are most humble people and that are enjoying lives regardless of having very, very little. And, so often, I come back to gratitude, and this is a great self-love practice, is actually practicing gratitude. What are you grateful for yourself? What are you grateful for in the world right now? Gratitude, self-care, for me, yoga, for me, breathing. We did some breathing before, breathing exercise, conscious breathing, actually noticing your breath. When was the last time you were conscious of you breathing in and out? We breathe 100,000 times a day. We're breathing. Our heart beats for us, right? We're 100,000 times a day, and we're often not conscious of it. We are so incredibly powerful, and we are, it's extraordinary that we're all here. We are all miracles of life, and so honoring and nurturing
100%.
ourselves and respecting others, I think, is so important. Having faith, in whatever your belief is, whatever faith, I do believe there's one God, one spiritual energy, whatever you want to call it. I think we have different names and stories around this energy. However, we are, I do believe we're all part of this energy. We're all tapped in, and the more we tune in to that spiritual energy and guidance, I find often, like, if I'm feeling low, I'll just pray, I'll say, please, please, Lord, please, guide me. How do you want me, to be? What do you want me to do? Ask for guidance, because you're not alone in this world. And this is the three biggest fears that people have, is that I don't belong, I'm not good enough, and I'm not loved, right? I'm not loved, I don't belong, I'm not good enough. That's the three biggest fears that people have. And so the more we can build this resilience, the more work we do on ourselves. And, I've done a hell of a lot of personal development work. I would invest in myself continually till the rest of my life. And I also recommend that you invest in yourself. If you want to fast track your success in life, invest in mentors, invest in people who can help you see your stuff, because often we're so close to our stuff to actually realize consciously what's going on for us. So a great way to start is notice when you get triggered. Notice when something upsets you or something angers you, or you react in an angry state or a sad state, which often those things are just there to teach you to, the healing is in the feeling. So actually feeling those different emotions and, processing, okay, I wonder why it was that I got upset by that. I wonder why it was I got triggered by that. And then often it'll be something from the past that's unresolved. And without making yourself wrong about it, actually just getting conscious to where we've been unconscious. That is one of the biggest things I would say, if you want to have a great experience of life, is actually learn and find ways to get conscious of all sorts of things. Now, Kadin, you've obviously developed a certain level of consciousness yourself, because you've come from being bullied. You could have just been like, you could have just made it mean things about yourself, that you're not good enough or whatever. And yet here you are, you're a man that has self-respect. You're out there wanting to help the world understand more about autism and educate people. And, I love the fact that you're around spreading peace, love, and positivity. So how do you do that on a day-to-day basis for yourself? How do you spread peace, love, and positivity?
By being humble, doing stuff like this all the time. I'm going on these platforms, telling my story, spreading my message. I'm planning some fundraisers for Autism Awareness Month, which is a week from now. Now, a week in a day, actually. No, actually, a week. It's Monday. So next Monday is April 1st, first day of Autism Awareness Month. I got something planned for that. And mostly just doing my thing, kicking ass, taking names. Can I cuss on here? I apologize.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, this is not censored. This is not censored. And even if it gets taken off some platforms, we put it up on others. So it's all good. We have backup. so yes, you can share what you like, Kadin. So yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that you spread the message. And Autism Awareness Week, perfect time for this show. And we do need to wrap it up shortly. So I want to thank everyone who has been watching and tuning in. Please let us know what you got from this show. What are some ways that you practice self-love, practice understanding? What do you think about autism? Maybe something new you've learned about autism today. Please let us know in the comments. And I think a lot of it comes back to loving your life and bringing joy into your life and noticing what is it that brings you joy and doing more of that, whatever that is that's going to bring you more joy. do more of that. And I think that's a great way, to be the change you wish to see in the world, as they say, is to spread peace, love, and positivity. It's important for us to take that on board. In fact, just yesterday, I saw the Bob Marley movie, right? It's a great new movie that's come out about Bob Marley that was actually produced by Brad Pitt. Found very interesting. And, Bob Marley was all about bringing peace to the world. And there was a scene in the movie where he said, if I want to bring peace to the world, if I want to, I want to share the message, then I have to be the message. You have to embrace it. If you want to bring peace to the world, you need to practice more peace, which another great thing I do is I meditate. I love meditating. And that to me is tapping and tuning into source energy, into God energy, whatever you want to call it. We're not going to get into religion or politics here, but whatever your beliefs are, realizing that you are so much more powerful than you believe yourself to be, and how you may even come across on the surface, remembering we're spiritual beings in a human body, having a human experience. Final words from you, Kadin, before we go into how people can connect with you.
Keep spreading love.
Keep spreading love. Yes. Love is all you need, as the Beatles song goes, right? Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Absolutely. And in fact, I have my little love heart here. Love is all you need, my friends. Love is all you need. I love it, Kadin. And how can people connect with you?
You can connect with me on Facebook at Kadin Ronald, KadinRonald. You can follow my Instagram at 73 posts here, all one word. I try to separate this from the advocacy, but you can also connect with me on YouTube, Kadin73, Kadin 73, and you can check out my writing under the name Kadin McElwain on the sports column and everydayfan.com.
Beautiful. I love that. And do you have a favorite quote or motto that you would like to share with us as well?
There was one from Friedrich Nietzsche. And I really like Friedrich Nietzsche on positivity. He had a really good one.
Awesome. And we'll bring it to you.
My formula for happiness: a yes, a no, a straight line, a goal.
Can you say that again? Just say that one more time.
Sir, my formula for happiness: a yes or no, a straight line, a goal. Friedrich Nietzsche.
Ah, very nice.
I like that. I just actually got it. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kadin. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show. And now we'll go to Ken now. So Ken, how can people connect with you?
All right. Well, you guys can connect with me through my Linktree. And on my Linktree, which, by the way, I'm just going to, for those of you listening by audio, the Linktree is, so apparently I don't have to list out the www. So it's linktr.ee/FatFighterKen. And on that Linktree, at the very top of the list, you are going to see a link that you can go to and sign up for my free masterclass. Yes, I've got a free masterclass. It's called the 7 Master Keys to Weight Loss. And it's a phenomenal masterclass. It's been updated. It's there's a lot of great stuff in there. And it's only about an hour and 15 minutes. And so, and then at the end, there's a little opportunity for a VIP package and stuff. So there's that. And then there's a link in my Linktree also to connect with me on my Facebook page. You can find that right. So these are all right at the top of the list in my Linktree. Connect with me on Facebook. Love to get to know you. And with that, following up with that, right below that is a link to my calendar. Book an appointment with me. I would love to be able to get on a Zoom call with you, get to know you more, vice versa, and even see if I can help you on your health journey, on your journey to fat loss, and all of that stuff. Love to help you. And even if I find that I can't help you, or we just decide not to work with each other, I still would enjoy the opportunity of further connecting with you face-to-face over Zoom. And if you're local to me, love to meet you in person. Lastly, is a link to my website in there, masteryweightloss.com. And on that website, you can also find that masterclass. You can find all the things about me, and you can also get plugged right into my own personal podcast and all of that. So that's how you can connect with me. And Aldwyn, I'm going to beat you to it. My favorite quote, the one I'm going to quote for today, because I think it's very, very, very applicable to today's topic and for what I see in Kadin. Kadin, you have taken this whole thing and you've almost like made a career out of it for yourself and just a passion out of it. And just everything that comes out of your mouth is well thought out, very intelligent. And it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. So in light of all of that and what I just said, my quote of the day is treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. And that is by Donald J. Trump.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken. Love that. And for those who want to connect with me, you can go to my linktree /Aldwyn, linktr.ee/Aldwyn, ALDWYN. And in there, you'll find a whole lot of free resources. You'll find my calendar link to book a call if you want to be seen, heard, and known in the mass media. If you want to get more customers, if you want to boost your credibility, then reach out. That means you need to be seen, heard, and known more, and that's what we can help you do. So we have a mass media mastery program. We have a done-for-you PR package as well. And we can get you out in multiple ways through our connections and all sorts of other very cool stuff. So book a call with me. Also, every month we have the Global Good News Challenge. And this is a great way that you can practice gratitude and good news. We have a 3-day one for March. Currently, for April, there'll be a 4-day one where you just share your name, what you do, 3 things you're grateful for, and a piece of news, a good news on a live video. And then we share that out to thousands of people. All the details are at the top of the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page, all right, which you'll find in my link tree there, and a whole lot of other really cool links. Check out my YouTube channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Aldwyn Altuney Media Queen TV. We've got some really cool stuff in there, and we've been adding some really funny videos in there lately too. So have a look in there. You'll get a good laugh at some of the videos, and we'd love to know what you think. You can see our previous episodes as well. And I do recommend check out our Total Truth show on the podcast. We're on Spotify or online as well, and you will find our Facebook page as well. And look at Ken's beautiful putty cat. Hello, darling. Gorgeous putty cat's making itself known.
Yep, he is.
Gorgeous. So yes, connect on all the socials. You see all the links wherever you are, Instagram, LinkedIn. Connect, stay connected. And my quote today is actually one about autism, and it's by a guy called Stuart Duncan. He says, autism is not a disability, it's a different ability. It's not a disability, it's a different ability. I really like that. In fact, it's a superpower in many ways. So here's to embracing all of us and learning more acceptance, kindness for others, no matter who they are. Here's to practicing more of that. I think it is just so important. Any final words, Kadin or Ken, before we wrap up today's show?
Nope, I think that's it.
No, that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for being our guest, Kadin. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for all those who've watched live. Let us know in the comments if you've been watching live or you're watching the replay. Let us know also where you're from and what you got out of this show. And if you've enjoyed it, please share the love. Maybe there's someone who could really benefit from tuning in to this show today. And we'll be back with more amazingness for episode 61 coming up shortly. So stay tuned, subscribe to our platforms, and we'll see you again next time at Total Truth Show. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world. We'll see you then.